Thank you, Senator Shaheen. First of all, I want to say a thank you, which I've said before, but I want to make sure I thank you again, Admiral, and that is for requesting funding for the P-285 barracks at Portsmouth Naval Shipyard for our junior enlisted sailors. So I thank you, and I know that Senator Shaheen was a great advocate for that too, and I think both of us were grateful that you put that in, so thank you. I also wanted to ask about, in light of the threat of terrorism, as we think about force protection, we obviously, security personnel, security barriers are all important as we think about the important assets at our shipyard, and obviously our nuclear submarines are so important in terms of their technology and protecting them. One of the things I wanted to ask you, Admiral Smith, has the Navy been examining waterside security barriers to provide better protection for our shipyards and naval bases? I think that was an issue that you were studying, and if you could give me an update on what versus what you've determined on that and how that compares to what's currently used, and is there a next generation of force protection for waterside barriers that we should be looking at?
Yes, ma'am. We are looking at next generation. We've been doing that throughout this winter. All our shipyards have a harbor security barrier around it, as do our installation peers. But what we have right now does not meet the requirement for high-speed boats that could be used for a terrorist attack. So we're looking for.
So what's in place right now doesn't do it. So we need to.
Yes, ma'am. And so we're looking at that. And so this past winter, we're actually this week we're going through the 8th testing of a new product down in Norfolk. My operations officer from headquarters is actually down there to witness it. It's got a better ability. It's proving out to have a better ability to stop vessels quicker. It also has a semi-automatic capability to open and close on its own. So one, it has the potential to provide more security, and it also, on the other hand, has to be more efficient so we can reduce overhead, dedicated boats that we have to open and close those. So that testing is still going on, but it looks to be very fruitful. And so I'm very optimistic that we're well on our way to going to the next generation and have good potential resources out there to do that.
Good. And is this important to the Navy to do that?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. I also wanted to ask about an issue that's been brought to my attention at our shipyard as well, which is security personnel. And this is the issue, obviously, of the gates and people who are manning the entry points in our shipyard. And the concern that I had is that has been raised with me is that it's taking too long to recruit and train security personnel. And I know that the Navy recognized this issue, and it's something I've also spoken to Vice Chief Admiral Howard about, that you raised the GS level for security personnel and created a career progression, because one of the issues was keeping people in that position to pay the people in a way that they're going to stay and conduct these important security positions. So I understand the new policy is going to allow security personnel at Portsmouth and other shipyards the opportunity for career progression that didn't exist with a fixed GS-5 position, and that officers will be GS-7 positions and supervisory police officers will have a GS-8 position. Is that what you understand as the new policy? And what impact is the policy having on attrition, and do we continue to have still challenges on the security for our shipyards?
So yes, ma'am. We have redone the position descriptions for that. We are building the career path. We're still in the process of doing that. That is not a complete.
Okay. So you haven't put it in place yet?
It's starting to roll out. So,
okay.
For example, you talk to the GS-5s. We now have the GS-6 in place. So folks will be evaluated and move up to GS-6. 7s are not in place yet. We have the 8s. So we're still in the process of building that. In addition to then CNO Greenert last summer directed that we hire another 1,461 security personnel because of the shortfall. So we're still hiring that. From an enterprise perspective, we're doing pretty well. We are still struggling in Mid-Atlantic and New England. We're still struggling at Portsmouth. I know that. I'm deep diving that to figure out why. why am I being successful elsewhere but not being successful in Portsmouth?
So are you, is the Navy prepared, if they have to address the career progression issue? If, you know, I know you've gone to GS6, but also I think looking at the progression issue, GS7, GS8, perhaps for the supervisory provisions, positions. So is this something you're going to continue? How fast do you expect implementing the rest of this policy and keeping a focus on how to keep those?
The goal is to have the plan built by the end of June, and then to start working our way into it as we get the hires and identify, based upon the requirements of each installation, who needs what resources based upon number of entry control points, amount of waterside property, those kind of things. So we're still working to build the plan to understand where we need to put those positions at. But I mean, so I should have that done by the end of June.
Thank you. Appreciate it.